And we'll do it live. We'll do it live. Today's topic is how the mafia controls the Republican Party. Is that the topic? How the mafia controls. Okay, today's topic is how the mafia controls the Republican Party. And it's a very sad situation, but it's one that we have to confront and face as adults. You have to face reality sometimes. Sometimes you just got to face reality. And the reality is that the Republican Party is controlled by organized crime. It's controlled by organized crime. That is a fact. That is an undisputable fact. And it's not just the Republican Party, but it's much of the USA, much of the U.S. government. Is my computer working properly? It is. Okay, good. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. I've been listening to Republican radio since around the 1990s. So in the 1990s, I started to listen to Republican radio. Rush Limbaugh was one that I was really interested in. Another person that I was interested in a lot was Michael Savage. Michael Savage out in San Francisco. Really enjoyed his show. So there was Michael Savage and there was Rush Limbaugh. So I listened to both of those. Sean Hannity, I've been listening to him since the 90s. Bill O'Reilly, I used to listen to that one. And everything else that's come through there. Larry Elder is an African American Republican that's in Los Angeles. So I've been listening to these people for a long time, for decades. And they've always had the same message over a long period of time. And it doesn't really change. And that message, at the center of that message, the center of it is, well, let's not talk about that yet. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about an interesting subject of opium trafficking. Is there any relationship between the global heroin trade and the U.S. government? Is there some kind of connection between the global heroin trafficking trade and the U.S. government? Does that exist? Is that real? Is that something that exists? Are there any connections there? It's a good question. It's a good question. If you want to know the answer to that question, you have to go back and look at where the global heroin trafficking trade originates out of and where it started and around what time it started. Of course, we know about this thing called the opium wars that occurred in China, right? The opium wars in China. And so the opium wars in China, where an entire region of the world was enslaved to opium by organized crime, by the mafia, right? So, yeah. And so if you look at some of the islands today that the U.S. is involved with, it's territories that were involved in the opium trade back then. And the British were involved in it too. But the main person that was involved with it was the Sassoon family. And the Sassoon family are organized crime. Now, organized crime, I don't know of any time where organized crime was not oriented around race and ethnicity. If somebody knows of an organized crime gang that's not oriented around race and ethnicity, please tell me, because I don't know of any. I don't know of any organized crime ring that's ever existed on the face of the earth that wasn't organized around race and ethnicity. Does anybody know one that's not? So we hear about the Sicilian Mafia, we hear about the Corsican Mafia, we hear about different types of organized crime rings. And the thing you have to know about organized crime is, as far as I know, it's always been organized around race and ethnicity. Now, if you listen to Republican media, you often hear this term called Judeo-Christianity. Judeo-Christianity. And it's really kind of a ridiculous term. Or religion. Yes, so religion plays a part too. So this idea of Judeo-Christianity is kind of a ridiculous term, but it's very central to what you hear every day, in and out every day in Republican radio, which I listen to a lot of, conservative media. And you've got Mark Levin, and you've got Dennis Prager, and you've got Buck Sexton, and Clay Travis, and Sean Hannity, and where I'm at, you've got the Larry Elder guy, and you've got all kinds of these guys. They're always centered. Oh, Dan Bongino. I just heard Dan Bongino doing this today because somebody criticized Dan Bongino about some comments that he made about how, somebody asked, a reporter asked him what what motivates him in life. And he said it was supporting Israel, which is just weird, right? Like, why is that your main thing? It doesn't make sense that that's like the thing that motivates you in life, right? You're Dan Bongino and your motivation in life is to fight for Israel. It just doesn't make sense, right? It's so nonsensical. Like, what are you talking about? Right? And so Elijah Schaffer is another person that I listen to in the media, and he was having an interview with Nick Fuentes, and Elijah Schaffer was explaining how he's been offered money by the state of Israel to say things on his show, right? And he knows that all these other people are being offered money by the state of Israel to say things on their show. So we have to assume that when we're listening to these Patriot radio, right? Alex Jones or Glenn Beck or Dan Bongino or whoever it is, and it's like, and they always have to or Steve Bannon's another one. I mean, these are people that I like, okay? But I'm just saying, it's always, you ask them about Israel or something, and they always are like, they're paid. Okay, so they're paid to say these things. So they're paid by the state of Israel to say things, right? And Dan Bongino gives an interview, and he's asked about what motivates him, and he says it's fighting for Israel, which is just weird, okay? So there's this thing called Judeo-Christianity. And this is all, and for some reason, this has to be central to what we're all doing in life, right? No matter who you are. Me, here I am. I'm in America. I was born in America. I'm trying to live my life. I'm trying to work a job. But I'm supposed to hear every day about Israel and Judeo-Christianity and all this kind of stuff, right? And we're all supposed to be in this big alliance. So this gets me back to the Sassoon family, because we're talking about organized crime. And the reason I'm telling you this is because I want people to face organized crime within their own circles. I did this talking earlier about Christian churches, right? Your Christian churches are, the pastors in your Christian churches are taking money from Mafia, okay? They're run by organized crime. So, and I'm saying it's also in the media, is that in our media and in our politics and in the Republican Party, not just the Republican Party, but I'm speaking from the viewpoint of the Republican Party because that's what I follow and that's what I'm involved with. It's run by, there's mafia involved, there's organized crime involved, which means there's opium, heroin money involved. I'm telling you, there is heroin money involved in the Republican Party. And it's been involved in the Republican Party the whole time. And Alex Jones ducks the Israel question. His comrade Owen Schroyer doesn't. Yeah. Now so that was getting me to think about this too. Is if you ever notice when you ask these people, you just mention that Jew. Because here's the thing: I don't hate everyone who's Jewish because they're Jewish. I've known plenty of people in the world that are Jewish and that are nice people and have regular jobs and don't do anything wrong and they're not involved in crime. Okay, but organized crime is a thing, and it is based on ethnicity. And there is a group, and it's mafia, and it is Jewish, right? So there is a Jewish mafia. So when you ask them about it, why are they getting so sensitive, right? Why does Alex Jones get so sensitive when you ask him about the Jewish mafia? He shouldn't, but he does. And same thing with Steve Bannon, and same thing with these other people. And so what I'm suggesting is you don't stop asking them about it. Because when they get sensitive and they get cranky about it, it makes you back off. Like, okay, fine, I want to talk to you. No. You should keep pressing them on it and actually make them go through their hysterics. But let's talk about the Sassoon family, okay? The Sassoon family, because you have to understand, if you think about this, the way I think, most people look at religion and they say, well, religion's about morality. It's about doing what is right, correct? That's what you think about it. That's how I think about it. And that's how most people think about it. So they assume, being Christians, or, people that are Christian would assume that the Jewish religion has the same type of feelings about right and wrong that we have, right? But you have to understand is that there's no law in the Jewish religion. There's no law that says you can't traffic heroin. There's no law in the Jewish religion that says you can't traffic heroin. Now, that doesn't mean that all Jews would do that. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's no law in Judaism that says you can't traffic heroin. There's no law in Judaism that says you can't run porno institutions and traffic porno slaves. There's no law saying you can't. You read through the laws of the rabbis, there's nothing in there that says you can't do that. And there's no rabbi that will tell you that you can't do that. And so this is what you have to understand, is that religion, okay, in Christianity, see, we would look at that, we'd say, that's wrong, you can't do that. It's wrong because there's like a moral dilemma there, right? And so for us, it's like, no, that's against God, right? Because God to us is connected to the truth and righteousness. But see, you have to understand, you're looking at it from your perspective. You have to look at it from the other perspective, which is there is no law there's no rabbinical law in the Torah, or nowhere that says you cannot sell opium, that you cannot run a porno business. That's why you have people like, what's that guy? His daughter runs a porno shop. He's the rabbi. I can't remember. Rabbi Shmuley. His daughter runs a porno shop, and he pulls out dildos and stuff, right? See, because there's no law that says you can't, because that's Judaism. It's not your religion. There is no such thing as Judeo-Christianity. And so, I want to go back to the Sassoon family. So you got to understand this, right? Here is a family, and it's a Jewish family, and it's organized crime. Why? Because they're trafficking heroin. They've enslaved an entire race of people, the Chinese, to opium, right? And they're fabulously wealthy. So they got super rich selling something poisonous that's basically killing and enslaving an entire race of people, right? That's not against Judaism. That's not against their religion. You think that would be wrong because of your religion, and you think that religion and your religion have some similarity, and they don't. And this is a big mistake that people are making. And that's why when you listen to Dennis Prager, and you listen to Mark Levin, and you listen to Michael Savage, and so you're thinking, because these people are lying about a lot of things, and they're covering up a lot of things. They're covering up since this whole time. They've been covering up heroin trafficking. They've been covering up terrorism, and they're lying about terrorism. I don't want to go into all their lies. But so they're also sponsoring and paying for people like Alex Jones, who I like, to lie or cover up or promote Israel and to merge us with Israel. Okay. If you are Jewish and you want to go be Jewish, go be Jewish. I'm not going to stop you from being Jewish. What I want you to do is keep me out of it. I don't want to be involved in your stuff, and I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about you, and I don't want to hear about your problems, and I don't want you involved in anything I'm doing. I want to do something separate from you. I don't want to be involved in what you're doing. And so I just want to, that's the only thing I'm asking. I'm saying, look, Steve Bannon, I like Steve Bannon, right? But you hear Steve Bannon and you start to talk about Israel, and then he goes and do his Israel spiel. And that's also why we're involved in Ukraine. It's the same group. It's the same mafia. The same mafia that got us involved with Israel has us involved with a war with Russia. It's the mafia. And so that's why you have to understand, or I believe you should understand, is that what you think of as right and wrong is not necessarily what the rabbis think is right and wrong. That's why they run the Epstein whole game. And speaking of Epstein, where's the files? Okay, how long does it take to release the files? You know, what's the big deal? Just release the files. Well, who that you think they're going to? I don't know. I hope they do, but I mean, it doesn't look promising. I like Donald Trump. I voted for Donald Trump, but you got to understand, we need a divorcement from this mafia thing. We need a divorcement from it. Too many politicians in the files. Yeah, I would assume that's correct. I think there's a lot of them in there. But so, um, where are we going with this? So we've got the Sassoon family is a good example. So here you have, think of this: you have these Iraqi Jews, or they're from Aleppo, Syria, actually. And I believe at that time, Aleppo may have still been under the Ottoman Empire. So it's really Turkey. And if you ever wonder, like, why is Turkey, the country of Turkey, why are they Muslim? Why is it not Christian anymore? Right. Well, there's people that, why are Christians being slaughtered in Syria right now? And you barely hear anything about it. Right. I saw an image on Facebook of a Syrian put on a cross and shot in the back of the head. Okay. And his brain's blown out. Okay. Now, who's sponsoring these Islamic terrorists up there in Syria? Well, they're being sponsored by Erdogan, and they're being sponsored by the state of Israel, which is all backed by the CIA and Mossad and the U.S. government. And it has the whole time because they wanted to get rid of Assad, and you know that. So so that's the other thing. Okay, it's organized crime. So anyway, let me give you an example. So if you've ever watched things like, if you ever watch any of these old mafia videos, documentaries, you've got this thing called the pizza connection, right? And so the heroin comes in, but they talk about Turkey. So the heroin gets processed somewhere in Turkey, and then it goes from Turkey and it gets shipped out. And I guess they had a route with the Sicilian mafia that routed it into France with the Corsican mafia. The Corsican. Remember, Napoleon was a Corsican. So the Corsican mafia in France, and then it got shipped over into somewhere in the Midwest, got flown into airplanes into the Midwest. I think maybe even Kansas City, I'm not sure, and then trafficked back into New York, and it was distributed in New York through pizza parlors. But where did all that come from? Well, it all came from further east, and that whole operation was set up by the Sassoon family. And of course, the Sassoons are still a very wealthy and popular family in England today, right? So there's a connection between the Sassoon family and England, okay? Because that whole operation was eventually taken over by England. It seems like it was set up by the Sassoons. It was a Jewish family from Aleppo, and they went over to India, and they went over to China, and they set up this whole drug trafficking operation. And then so they've got certain headquarters over there, and they've got Hong Kong. And it's like, well, how did the British get all these islands, and how did they get all involved over there? They got involved over there through drug trafficking. So when you look at the British Empire, particularly under the Rothschilds, you're looking at a giant heroin business. It's a giant heroin business, right? The gigantic heroin business. That's what it is. And look at what it's done to America. But anyway, so it's a gigantic heroin business. And what happened was, originally it was focused on the people in the East, the Chinese. But then guess what? After World War II, when the Germans lost the war, all those drugs had a new market. And that market was Europe and America, but America particularly. That whole market shifted out of China and right over into the USA after World War II, right? Because what happened? China, you had the rise of the Maoist government, and I don't know all the ins and outs of that. I do know that that was established with the help of the Jewish mafia, actually. But whatever happened, happened. So then you also had the Golden Triangle, which was a big heroin, poppy heroin center farm, whatever you want to call it, down there. So that all that stuff, so the U.S. is all over there. They're trying to get involved in Laos and Burma and Vietnam. whatever happens, right? Anyway, after World War II, all that stuff is moving from South Asia into New York and starting to be distributed throughout America. That's when America starts getting hit with heroin. America starts getting hit with heroin after World War II. Who was the Sicilian Mafia allied with during World War II? They were allied with America against Hitler and Mussolini. So Mussolini was anti-mafia, and the Sicilian Mafia worked with the US and the Allies to defeat Mussolini. Now, I'm not saying Mussolini was great or good. I don't even really know that much about Mussolini, but I do know he was anti-mafia. And so whatever. I mean, I'm just saying he was anti-mafia. Is that good to be anti-mafia? As far as I'm concerned, it is. Is everything he did good? I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know that much about him. I really don't. But so after World War II, all those drugs, it looks like they lost the market in the East, and all that stuff came into the West. So the West got flooded with heroin after World War II. And it got flooded with heroin, and then in the night, and then they started developing LSD, and it got flooded with LSD, and then you had all this stuff with the all this stuff coming out of it was really England, and it was like MI6 CIA running the whole LSD operation in Europe and America, promoting all the bands. A lot of these rock bands that you and I probably really liked. You go back and you listen to some of the music. You had the Beatles, and you had Jimi Hendrix, and you had Black Sabbath, and you had Pink Floyd. What are they all promoting? Take LSD, right? It was all run by this group. It was all run by that group. They ran the whole thing. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm talking about with Republican politics. Republican politics is all about covering up this group and protecting this group. The mafia. Okay. That's why Dennis Prager never told you about Jeffrey Epstein for the whole time he was operating in New York and Florida, and no one ever mentioned it, right? No one ever mentioned it. It just ran and for decades, right? And they're still covering it up. But it's not just that. So what I'm saying is, in that religion, there's no law in Judaism that says you can't sex traffic. You can't. There's no rabbinical order that says it's wrong to sex traffic. There is no thing in Judaism that says you can't be a sex trafficker. There's nothing in Judaism that says you can't sex traffic kids. There's no law that says you can't in Judaism. In the religion of Judaism, there is no law that says you can't sex traffic children. That you can't sex traffic babies. Look at Dave Rubin. Right? There's no law in Judaism that says you can't sex traffic a baby. There's no law in Judaism that says two homosexuals can't adopt a baby. There's no rabbi saying that you can't do that. So in that religion, that's not the thing. So there's a difference. For instance, the way we were brought up, right? Because the way I've always thought is, here's the thing. When I haven't always had, I've always been involved in labor, right? So I've always had to work really hard to make money, either whatever I've had to do, moving furniture, doing whatever I was going to do, right? Throughout my career, I've always had to do labor, and I always had to work hard. And I never thought to myself, well, I could just go sell heroin. And actually, I had someone offer. And he wasn't Jewish. He was actually I don't want to say what prison gang it was, but someone offered me to do that. I'm like, I would never do that. And I actually don't look at those prison gang members who are whatever. I'm not even going to talk about them as being like some kind of ally of mine. No. See, here's the thing. I hate criminals. I hate them. Right? So I would never sell dope because I don't care if I got rich selling dope. I don't want to sell dope because I don't want to poison people. Do you see what I mean? I don't want to poison people. So I don't sell dope because I don't want to poison anybody. I don't want to do that. That's wrong. See, I don't do it because it's wrong. How do I know it's wrong? There's no rabbi that ordered me not to do it, right? There's no order from a rabbi saying, this is right, this is wrong. So how do I know that's wrong? And the rabbis don't. How does that happen? Because Sassoon family had, I bet you they built synagogues. Did the Sassoon family build synagogues? Did they build synagogues? Did they have rabbis in those synagogues working for them? This is how it works, right? The mafia that's running the drugs and doing all the poison, selling all the poison, whatever kind of poison it is in the society, they're getting rich. They're getting super rich, right? And then they build the temple. They build the synagogue, and then the rabbis come to work at the synagogue, right? That's how the whole Rothschild empire is built that way. That's how they built the whole thing up. They built synagogues in China. This network built synagogues in China. So that's what I'm saying. The mafia will build a synagogue, and then they'll have the rabbis, and they're selling poison. There's no rabbi that comes to the mafia and says, "Hey, that's wrong." There's no law saying you can't do that in their religion. Get it? So I never sold dope, right? And I didn't do all these other things. I don't steal from people. I don't rob people. I don't do violence. I don't do murder for hire. Why? Because it's wrong. You see, it's wrong to do. How do I know that it's wrong when there's no law from a rabbi telling me right and wrong? How do I know it's wrong? See, this is the difference. This is the difference. There's a different standard that I have and probably you have than these other people have. It's a different standard. And so whether it's the Jewish mafia or some other mafia or the Sicilian mafia or whatever, the fact of the matter is anybody who's in my view is this: if you sell dope, okay, and if I'm in charge of the government, let's say I am elected or not elected, I just come to power somehow, and I'm in charge of the government, right? Anyone selling crystal meth, if I can't get my hands on them personally, I will just declare that person fair game, and anything can happen to them. Anything can happen to them, and there's no consequences. And anyone selling heroin, they're fair game. Anything can happen to them. There's no consequences. And I don't care what religion they are, and I don't care what race they are, and I don't care anything. I'm saying, if you're doing that, and I'm in charge, you're fair game, right? Anything can happen to you, and you have no. You can't call the police. Okay. So now same thing goes. So now when people start noticing that there's like a Jewish mafia, right? And so people start asking Dan Bongino about it, or people start asking Donald Trump about it, and he gets pissed off, or people start asking Alex Jones about it, and he gets all irritated. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're lacking some kind of internal compass that actually gears towards the truth, towards the logos, the ultimate, the alpha omega, right? Because it shouldn't bother you, right? If someone came to me like, okay, so my race, let's say my race is French, and someone came to me and says, there's a French mafia, and they're doing they're doing this horrible stuff, and they're selling dope, or they're doing this, I'd be like, well, go get them. Fair game. Do whatever you want to them. They're not mine. I don't care. Have them. But it's something weird that in the U.S. government, they don't do that to this particular group of people. They go out of their way to protect them. You look at Larry Silverstein. Has Trump mentioned Larry Silverstein? Has Trump mentioned Les Wexner? Why not? What's the big deal? Les Wexner. He sponsored Jeffrey Epstein, right? He runs Harvard. Now here's the thing, right? Trump's coming out with all this stuff about Harvard. Oh, we're going to get rid of these anti-Semites over in Harvard for causing trouble in the schools. Well, frankly, a lot of those people, as far as I'm concerned, shouldn't be here anyway. I agree. They shouldn't even be here. Why? Because they're foreigners, and I don't want to live in a foreign country. And I don't give a shit if Harvard loses money. They can all go away. But look who runs Harvard. It's Les Wexner. It's Les Wexner. It's Les Wexner. Les Wexner, the sole client to Jeffrey Epstein, Les Wexner. Okay. Les Wexner is giving Jeffrey Epstein all this money to buy all these mansions and buy all these airplanes and have this island and do all this trafficking and blackmailing all these people. Okay, so that's all illegal. Those are all big crimes. But have you heard Clay Travis and Buck Sexton or Dan Bongino, or has Alex Jones mentioned Lex Wexner? What's the big deal? Why isn't Les Wexner fair game? See, just like me, if you said, Brian, someone in blood related to your race is doing these horrible crimes, I would tell you, go get them. I'll help you. We'll string them up together. But they don't do that, do they? No. Why? The only reason I can think is because in their religion, it's not a problem. I can't think of anything. I don't know why else they would do that. Other than in their religion, who are you to impose your beliefs on us? Right? In our religion, we can sell opium and it's fine and it's not your business. And in our religion, this and that. Okay, well, good. Then guess what? Go do your stuff somewhere else. So here's what I'm saying. I don't know anybody talking about Les Wexner. What's the big deal? Why not mention, why can Trump mention Larry Silverstein? What's the big deal? Larry Silverstein, he blew up the World Trade Center, or I don't know that he blew it up. Let's say he got the contract for the World Trade Center, and he bought the insurance policy for terrorism a few months before the planes flew into it and the bombs were all set in the building and everything blew up. So, I mean, that's just a little suspicious. So can someone just mention that? Maybe look into it, right? What's the big deal? So anyway, when you start doing this, they start calling you an anti-Semite instead of just going after these people. Otis Elevator was denied the last elevator contract. Interesting. So let me give you an example, because let's look at because what are some of these stupid arguments that they make? It's not just Jews doing crime. Now people do all. Okay, good. If anyone is doing crime as my race, the same race as me, and they're doing crime, okay, look, I'm telling you right now. If I knew of a heroin dealer that's an American, a white American guy, and he's the same race as me and everything, right? And I find out that he's selling crystal meth, because have you seen what crystal meth does to people? Okay, have you seen what it does to a woman, right? Have you seen what it does to a woman and how she neglects her children? Have you ever seen a neglected child whose mother is on crystal meth? I have, and I'm telling you right now that I can't tell you what I would do to that person. I can't tell you what I would do to that person, because on YouTube, I like my YouTube channel because I like communicating to you on YouTube. But I'm telling you, for some reason, these people are given protection from the government and from the police. Okay. And yeah, so that's the point, is they're given protection, and they're given all kinds of protections and all this kind of stuff. And let's take an example. Glenn Beck. Who doesn't like Glenn Beck? He's such a happy, pudgy little blonde-haired, blue-eyed, nice guy, and he's a Mormon. He's so nice that he's just so full of niceness. And he's got how many times has he had Alan Dershowitz on his show? Lots of times. Would he have me on his show? Would he have me on his show to talk about the mafia and organized crime and drug trafficking and the Jewish mafia? Would I be allowed on his show to do that? No. He would call me all kinds of names. But he'll have Alan Dershowitz on his show, who Alan Dershowitz represents, just like in the mafia movies. You got certain lawyers, they represent the organized crime gang, right? Well, who did Alan Dershowitz represents? Jeffrey Epstein, the kitty sex trafficker that blackmails the politicians for their ethno state. So come on, man. Alan Dershowitz is on the Alex Jones show. Alan Dershowitz is on Glenn Beck. Alan Dershowitz is on with Sean Hannity. Alan Dershowitz is on with everybody. Alan Dershowitz goes on Fox News. Alan Dershowitz goes to Alan Dershowitz at CPAC. Alan Dershowitz, see what I mean? What kind of, how are these people aren't serious? These are not serious people, dude. They're not serious about two things. They're not serious about the logos, Christ, however you want to call it. They're not serious about the ultimate truth, the purity of righteousness. They're not serious about that. And they're not serious about harming people who are involved in really, really bad crimes. Really, really bad crimes. Really, really bad crimes. The main girders were located next to the elevators. Yeah, they blew the shit out of that building. And they're still like the people that blew up the World Trade Center with bombs, that they put bombs in the building and it blew up. I mean, everyone watched it blow up. It's not like a secret. It's all on video, blowing up and exploding into little pieces, right? Like literally aerosolizing concrete. Okay. And when a building falls down, the concrete doesn't turn into powder. Okay. So anyway, aerosolized concrete. So how about, all those people that did that, a lot of them are still there. A lot of them are still in DC. A lot of them are still in the Pentagon. A lot of them are still at CIA headquarters. A lot of them are still coming and going, and nobody's after them. Right? So that's why I'm saying these people are not serious. These people are not serious. But what's Trump focused on right now? Oh, he wants to fix the Ukraine-Russia thing, because that's where somebody's pressuring him to do that. And who's pressuring him? It's the same group. It's the exact same group that's been pressuring America for since the 1800s. So since the 1800s, there's been this one group that keeps Mafia, that keeps pressuring American presidents to act in certain ways. And that's who's still that's why Trump thinks he has to make a deal with Russia over Ukraine and so yeah. Vertical girders. Under every floor is crawl space. Every floor had thermite, foam spray, umbrella, steel pan, 4-inch concrete above it. Had thermite, foam spray, umbrella. Probably. I don't know how they did it. I just know that that building literally, okay, look, concrete, if concrete turns into like an aerosolized powder that you could literally like breathe in the dust, that's not just a building falling over, okay? Like when a building falls over, the concrete doesn't go poof and just blow up into dust and it's like everyone's breathing concrete. That doesn't even make sense. So, somehow they did that. Somehow they did that. So anyway, so here's what I'm suggesting. I'm suggesting that you don't stop asking these people about organized crime. I think that's the best way to frame it. And like I said, I know plenty of Jewish people that live totally good lives. And, I mean, like I had Jewish folks one time tell me, oh, I'm going to a bar mitzvah or something. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. It sounds fun, right? You're going to go meet your friends. You're going to go have a party. Great. That's nice. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying that we're talking about the mafia, okay? We're talking about the mafia. So when you start talking about the mafia and all the stuff that they're involved in, what do people do? You're an anti-Semite. That doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense. And then they want to do the whole Judeo-Christian thing. That doesn't make sense either. Judeo-Christianity doesn't make sense because the rabbis and Christianity are not the same thing, and it'll never be the same thing. And I don't want to go into I don't want to give you a lecture on all that stuff. I'm just saying it's not the same thing. I know it's not. If you think it is, you're deceived. But I don't want to give you a lecture on that. All right, we can do a lecture on that another time when people really need a lecture on that. But I'm just saying, what I'm suggesting you do is you keep asking these people about the mafia. But what about this Jewish mafia? Ask Dan Bongino, because I heard him today. He's talking about how much how people that criticize Israel or the Jewish mafia, how they're bad people and they're just a bunch of losers and they just don't have a life. They always go into this thing. So what I'm saying is make them do that, right? Make them go into their spiel about how you're a loser and you don't have a life and you're just you just everything that happens to you, you just blame the Jews. See, that's what they do every time. Make them do that, right? Make them do the thing that they do that's so stupid and irrational that you can see it. Like talk about it and then make them do the thing. Like make Alex Jones go, I'm so sick of hearing about this. Like make him do that. Keep making him do that. And make Dan Bongino go, you just hate the Jews. Just keep making him do that. And just keep bringing it up. And don't stop bringing it up. And just make them go into their whole histrionics. Because that's what they do. They go into their histrionics. It's like we're not allowed to have our own stuff. I'm just saying I want to have my own stuff. That's all I'm saying. I want to have my own stuff. I want to have my own government without some other weird religion. And as far as I'm concerned, that religion's weird. I think it's creepy. It's not my religion, okay? Am I allowed to think other religions are stupid? Am I allowed to do that? Am I allowed to think that other people's religions are stupid? Because I think that other religions are stupid, okay? I think that Islam is a stupid religion. I can't stand it. Okay, I can't stand it. When I see them, I just think this is so dumb. Like everything they say is dumb, and their whole thing is stupid. And I just don't want around me. I don't want to be around it. Okay, so I'm allowed to say that, right? Because that's not against the Jews. Okay, but I feel the same way about Judaism. I think it's stupid. I think it's a stupid religion. And if you want to go to your bar mitzvah and do your parties, go for it. That doesn't bother me. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about your problems. And so this is the thing, is that somehow they've bound us up into like their operations. I want my own government with its own agenda that has nothing to do with Jews and nothing to do with the state of Israel and nothing to do with anything about Jews or anything related to Jews. I actually want a government that just exists solely for me. Oh, so let me tell you this. So here's the thing, right? So Dan Bongino, this is the thing that got me today. He was talking, he says, we got to keep these people out of our movement. So understand something. I was one of the first people to back Donald Trump before anybody, before J.D. Vance, before Ben Shapiro, before Alex Jones. Before Alex Jones, it was me and a bunch of people on a website called the Daily Stormer that were all but before Donald Trump started, we were promoting the Kalergi doctrine. The guy, that British guy from the BNP. Can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me later. He was talking about Kalergi. And once we heard about Kalergi, I mean, it was just like on fire. We were spreading the Kalergi info like the gospel. And I ended up looking into it. I got a bunch of documents off of a Freemason website. I posted that online. I had a big group called the Kalergi, the Anti-Kalergification League. It was huge. It was all over Europe. We had members in Europe. We had members in Canada. We had members in Australia. It was huge, right? This was before Trump announced that he was going to run for president. Before Trump announced that he was going to run for president, we had this giant network from the Daily Stormer and into Facebook and all this kind of stuff. And it was just like, it was huge, right? And that was the initial backing that Trump had when he said he was running and he was going to shut down the border and he was going to deport the illegal aliens and he was going to do all this. He got this big, huge wave of people globally, our guys, that all said, back this guy. And that was still when Alex Jones was backing Rand Paul and saying that Donald Trump was a spoiler and he was going to get Hillary Clinton elected, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, so when Dan Bongino comes out and says, they're gonna hijack our movement. What do you mean our movement? Who do you think started this movement, you idiot? Who do you think started this movement? This is our movement. See, we hijacked the government and we put Donald Trump in there. And we know what Donald Trump's not really one of us. But he's actually doing enough to make some progress. You see, that was the whole point. He didn't have to be one of us, actually. It's just that, so how is it that we were so smart? Because look, the things he's doing are good. Everything, most of the stuff, I'm not saying everything, but a lot of stuff he does is good. Right? So how did we, the evil anti-Semite Nazi kicker, blah, 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 how did we know all the good, right stuff to do the whole time? Because it's naturally the right thing to do. See, naturally, all these things would be the logical thing to do. The logos, the reasoning, logic, right? We've had it the whole time. Logically, this is the thing you do. Logically, you don't race mix with Indians and people from Africa, right? Logically, you wouldn't do that because that's stupid. So, you know what I mean? Logically, you wouldn't put Jews in charge of your government if you're not Jewish. You'd have your own government for your own thing. It's just logic. So there's a war on logic. There's a war on reason. And it's by this organized crime group. And isn't that the story of Jesus Christ, who's put to death at Golgotha, the skull? But I don't know. I don't want to go into that. The Logos is put to death at the skull. But anyway, so Dan Bongino says we got to get we can't let these people hijack our move. Now Dan Bongino is going to be the deputy FBI director fairly soon. He says we can't let these people hijack our movement. No, dummy. We are the movement. Okay, you came into our movement is what happened. That's what actually happened. Our movement was started on the Daily Stormer and some other places back in 2014. I was warning everybody about Ukraine in 2014. I was warning all my Ukrainian friends not to get involved with John McCain and Noodleman in 2014. Now Tucker Carlson's talking about it. Now you hear the name Victoria Nuland on the Tucker Carlson show. Right. All this stuff started with me and the people that I was associated with in 2012 and 2013 and 2014 when things were very dark. You have to understand, things were very dark. Barack Obama was the president. They had just announced gay marriage at some point back then, and Facebook had rainbow flags, including InfoWars. InfoWars, go back and look at InfoWars when the gay marriage thing happened. InfoWars was celebrating gay marriage and had a pride flag. Look, that's what I'm saying. And Alex Jones has made some concessions. Whatever. I don't want to harp on him. I like his show. I've been listening to the guy since like the 2000s. Okay. I'm saying this was never Dan Bongino's movement. It was always our movement. And the thing is, here's the thing. We don't need Dan Bongino, and we don't need Vivek Ramaswamy, and we don't need Dennis Prager, and we don't need Alan Dershowitz. We don't need any of them. We don't need Ben Shapiro. We don't need any of these people. They don't enhance our survival. We don't need them. We don't need foreign people to come here and do anything. We don't. By we, I mean white European people. We don't need these other races. Like, who started slavery? People that were trying to have these big monopolies. Those are the people that started slavery. Right? The people that started slavery were the sugar monopoly people, and the people that wanted to have these huge tobacco farms to export tobacco around the world. It was the globalist people. The globalists are the ones that started slavery. Nobody else needs slavery. I don't need slavery. Right? They're the ones that need all that. So the white race doesn't need any of that. We actually just don't need these people involved in our lives is what we don't need. And we need to keep making that point and make it very clear that we don't need them, right? What did they try and do? They try to drag us into a war with Russia. And some people who are national socialists were stupid enough because they don't really understand what's going on in America. They're kind of like hillbillies, I guess. They just don't know what's going on over here. They don't know who runs everything, I guess. And they were stupid enough to think that this is all real. They went over and got killed. And you look at who was recruiting neo-Nazis here in America just recently under Biden. It was a group of people that were recruiting for Ukraine. It was neo-Nazis recruiting for Ukraine, trying to get right-wing people to go to Ukraine and go get killed. For who? For the Jewish mafia. Like, anyway, what I'm saying is we don't need these people. We need to have our own stuff. And so we need to keep making that point that we don't need any of this. We don't need that. We don't need any of it. And okay, so here's the other thing. So with Dan Bongino, what is Dan Bongino? He says we're the problem. Me and other people. We're the problem, right? We're trying to hijack the movement. What's his thing? Like you've got. I just watched Facebook. I just saw Dublin in Facebook. There's Africans everywhere and Muslims everywhere, and they're in the streets. They're on the road. The people in Ireland and Dublin are being racially attacked now in their home country. They just keep doing this to us everywhere we go. Who's doing this? Dan Bongino is not going to save the white race. He doesn't give a shit. He's not. He's like some kind of mixed race Italian guy. Okay. Great. I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying he's not gonna come to our rescue. So what is he trying to perpetuate? He's trying to perpetuate the race mixing, religion mixing. We're all in this together. The same people that did the shots, the same people that injected you with the mRNA, the same people that made you wear a mask. It's all the same shit. Dan Bongino took those shots. Ben Shapiro promoted those shots. All these people promoted all this shit. They keep promoting all this poison that's designed to kill you because they're all part of a mafia, organized crime. And they're going to keep doing it to you. And so all I'm saying is, I don't want to have anything to do with that. I want to have my own stuff far away from what you're doing. And I don't want you influencing. If you're part of that group, if you're a different religion than me, I don't want to have anything. I don't want you involved in my life. Right? If you're a Muslim, I don't want you involved in a government that makes laws for me. As an example, okay? No Muslim should be allowed to make a law that affects me. Ever, ever, ever. Why? Because Muhammad's a pedophile. Why would I allow a religion that says prayers to a pedophile to make a law for me? Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You're talking about a totally foreign race of people that worships a cube in Arabia and that says prayers in Arabia to a pedophile, to some Arabian god, and they're going to make a law for me? No. No. And it's the same thing for Judaism. Go do your Judaism. Go do it. I'm not going to stop you. Go have fun. Go to your bar mitzvah. Great. Tell me how much fun it was. I don't care. I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to stop you. But you're not going to make a law for me, right? You can't make a law based on your Judaism for me. No, because as much as I say that you can go do your thing, I still find your religion to be idiotic. I think it's stupid. I think you're a nice person. I'm glad you're happy, but I think your religion's stupid. And I don't think that you're in any position to make a law that has any power over me, because I think your religion lacks logos. It lacks the logos. It lacks the purity of truth and righteousness. So there's no way that I can allow you to make a law that's going to affect me, right? You're Alan Dershowitz. You're the lawyer for a pedophile network. You can't make laws for me and your whole network in Washington, D.C. Why should a network of Talmudic pedophiles and criminals and dope traffickers and pornographers make a law for me? You have your laws are the problem with your laws, and I have to follow the law. I'm not saying I'm going to break the laws. What I'm saying is I want a government that says, no, you're not allowed to make any laws because you're a degenerate and you're stupid. So you're stupid, your religion's stupid, and you're stupid, and you're a degenerate. So you can't make laws because we don't allow degenerates to make laws. That's the type of government that I want. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying I'm going to break the existing laws. I'm saying I want a government that's not a group of Talmudic degenerates. And if you're a Talmudic, go be a degenerate. I'm not going to stop you because I have nothing to do with you. You're not the blood of my blood, right? I feel sorry for you. Okay. Just like I feel sorry for Africans that live in some shitty fucking place. I feel sorry for if you're the Sassoon family and you're a dope trafficker or you're a pornographer. I feel sorry for you because that's disgusting and you're a piece of shit, right? So I feel sorry for you. But there's no way we should any longer tolerate having these people involved in the government making laws or running the courts because they're degenerates. And so it's the same thing I would say for Muslims. Why would you let some guy who is from some foreign Arab fucking shit place who worships a cube? What does that have to do with you and your race? Nothing. No, that's fine if they're a different race, whatever. Good for them. I'm not going to hurt them. I don't want to hurt them. I've been against killing all these Arabs over in Palestine the whole time. I don't want them to die. I don't want to kill them like the Zionists do. I just don't want to have anything to do with it. And I don't want them to have anything to do with me. So I'm saying we need a government with no Muslims making laws for us. They don't have any power over us. No Jews have any power over us. So Muslims have no power over us. Talmudic Jews have no power over us. Hindus have no power. They can't have any leverage over us in any way, shape, or form. None. No other race should have leverage over us. And I don't want to have leverage over the other races. I don't want to enslave black people. I don't want to enslave Chinese people. I don't want to enslave anybody. I just want to. I want us to do our own thing. We'll have our own land. We'll have our own government. We'll do our own thing, peacefully, happily, and in harmony with nature. Right? In harmony with nature and in harmony with the other races, and hopefully, because we're so superior, that hopefully our superiorness will help out, and we'll be able to help them, so they don't have to sell dope like the Sassoon family and be a degenerate, or be some kind of pornographer, or sell dildos like Rabbi Shmuley, right? Hopefully our goodness will rub off. I don't want to say rub off. Hopefully our goodness will kind of influence the other people. Okay, but they should not have any say or any laws or anything over us. Until then, of course, we have to follow the law, and I'm not suggesting that we don't. But I'm saying we need to start this process of moving away from having these other people having leverage over us. It needs to stop. It needs to stop. Look at Ireland. Look at Dublin. I just watched. There's a guy walking through Dublin with a camera, and it's all Africans and Muslims in Dublin. Dublin belongs to the Irish, the Celtic people. It's not fair. It's wrong, and they know it's wrong, and they're doing it on purpose to kill them. They're doing it on. All this stuff is being done on purpose to kill the Irish people and kill the German people and kill the French people and everybody else. They've been doing it the whole time. Same thing in Spain. I saw the same thing in Spain. It's going on all over the place. It's going on in Syria. They're killing Syrians. The Muslims are running around backed by Turkey and Israel and CIA to exterminate Syrian Christians. It's wrong. So no more. We cannot allow these people to have leverage over us. We need to pull all of our resources from them, cut them off 100%, cut them off. That's what Donald Trump should actually be doing too. Instead of worrying about Zelensky and the Jewish mafia over there, just cut them off. And then let's really give some real help to Ukrainians and Russians. Let's be friends. Let's be friends with the Russians. Let's be friends with the Ukrainians. Let's live in harmony, and let's make Europe and America great again. That's my message for tonight. Thanks for listening.